as these first two malas, these first two coverings or knots, begin to unravel, the anava mala of the tightly knotted sense of I am only this individual mind-body, and the maya mala, the illusion that we're all separate and completely different. As those two begin to unravel, we begin to awake to a force, a power that is orchestrating life in every moment and always has been, including one's own life.
And in this recognition, the illusion of independent doership, that I am the primary doer of all of this, that I'm in charge, I'm in control, it's my responsibility to fix it, etc., etc. Fill in the interpretation of that mala. It's called the karma mala, this illusion of doership. We begin to develop the ears to hear. Right? All right.
So in the Kashmir Shaivite tradition, one of the primary writings is called the Heart of Recognition, Pratnabhrishan Hridayam. And these are the first two sutras. Chitti swatantra vishwasiddhi hetu. She, consciousness, in absolute freedom, is the sole cause of the manifestation of everything.
Svechaya svabhitau vishvam unmilyati. Through her own will, consciousness unfolds the universe on the canvas that is herself.
So we begin to awaken to this immense force, this immense power, what the Tao Te Ching calls the flow of the Tao. This is from the Tao Te Ching. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. If you open yourself to the Tao, you are at one with the Tao, and you can embody it completely.
And as doership continues to unravel, Rumi's words become self-evident. Don't flee across the chessboard of this world, for it is God's game, and we are checkmate. Checkmate.
And as Jean-Pierre de Caussade, the 16th century Jesuit, wrote, there is only one rule for us, the duty of the present moment. When the wind is shifting, one can be sure of its direction only from moment to moment. Ding. The bell is rung.
The bell is rung. So beautiful. So as these knots loosen, these malas, these threads begin to disentangle. Right? The thread that I am this limited individual, the thread that I am separate, cut off, and everything else is different from this, and the knot of doership, that I am fundamentally in charge here. As all of these threads begin to disentangle, then what begins to emerge is recognition of a beautiful tapestry referred to as Indra's net. And Indra's net has been used as a metaphor, as a teaching analogy for almost 3,500 years. It's got a long history. And Indra's net really refers to this infinitely large net, cosmically large net. And at the juncture of every thread of this net is a multifaceted jewel. And these multifaceted jewels that sit at the nexus of each of these threads perfectly reflect all the other jewels. Right? All the other jewels.
Creating a perfect interfusion and connectedness among infinite jewels. The Trinity that is described across traditions, there's different namings and somewhat different versions, but they actually, there's a lot of similarity in how the Trinity names these three. And in the three, very importantly, is that the individual manifestation is a perfect jewel itself. Each individual manifestation is perfect in and of itself.
And that each emanation, each manifestation, each form, each jewel is an adornment of the continuity. It's an adornment of the continuity. And so we see this in different mystical traditions named, again, as the Trinity. So in Kashmir Shavism, we have Shiva, Shakti, and Anu. So Anu is the unique individual. It's the jewel. Right? And it's necessary. It's important. It's valuable. And of course, in Buddhism, we have the three kayas, the three bodies of the Buddha. Right? We have the Dharmakaya, the Sambhogakaya, and the Nirmanakaya. And the Nirmanakaya is the emanation of that fully illumined jewel. Right? The fully illumined jewel.
And in Christianity, we have the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the child of God. And the child of God being, again, the naming of the jewel, the perfect expression that's unique.
So it's not simply non-dual emptiness. These adornments, each of us is a jewel of Indra's net. How clearly does it shine? Is the invitation. So the poet laureate Rabindranath has a poem to honor this, the jewels of the net. And he spoke it this way. The color of my consciousness made the emerald green, the ruby red. I gazed at the sky, and the light dazzled in the east and the west. I turned to the rose and exclaimed, "It's beautiful." And beautiful it became. You say it's philosophy, not a poetic composition. And I say it's truth, and that makes it poetry. This is my proud claim, proud on behalf of the whole of humanity, that only on the canvas of the human ego is drawn the artistic masterpiece of the universe. The philosophers are negating existence in every breath, muttering, no, 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 not emerald, not ruby, not light, not rose, not I, not you. Meanwhile, the limitless one is exploring itself within the limits of humanity. That's called I.
And we've heard Joel state from time to time, quoting the Sufis, that the path to God comes to an end in gnosis, but the path within God has no end. So ultimately, we find ourselves in the stage of duality within non-duality. This is the tantric view. This is the view of iti, this too, this too, this too, this too, this too, this too. Iti means this. So instead of not this, affirming that all of this is an expression. Every single aspect is an expression of this one.
And a hadith of the Prophet recorded this way: I was a hidden treasure longing to be known. Similar to a jewel longing to shine.
So then we find ourselves in a dance, in a play of consciousness, which includes an ongoing, living, vibrant relationship with an infinite power, an infinitely creative, infinitely conscious power. That which is the word God denotes. We find ourselves in a dance with God. And
Yaneshwar, amazing poet saint of the 13th century, he described it this way: the one pure consciousness becomes the enjoyer and the object of enjoyment, the seer and the object of vision, without disturbing its unity. There is really no action or inaction. Everything that is happening is the sport of the self. The undivided one enters the courtyard of duality of its own accord. Unity only becomes strengthened by the expansion of diversity. Okay, so I'm going to try to tell a little story. And I'd like to share a precious teaching, really, that arose from St. Francis of Assisi, who's another great illumined being that has shown on this path. And this teaching arose when I was actually on a meditation retreat in Assisi, in the land of St. Francis. But I hadn't really studied St. Francis. I mean, I knew like the Canticle of the Sun, and I knew, his kind of seat at the table, if you will, of great illumined beings, but I hadn't really studied his work. But I was with people who had. And, and there was this recognition, I would say, of the knots as St. Francis honors them. And that's the story I'd like to share. So St. Francis has remembrance of knots as well, Knots. Okay, so the experience was sitting in meditation and having this recognition and this strong feeling. It was imbued with this strong feeling that my hands are completely empty. I have absolutely nothing to offer. That the only thing I have to offer is presence, period. And like literally, I just felt my hands I have nothing, just empty-handed, purely empty-handed. And then a couple days later, in meditation, I have this also very clear understanding and imbued with deep feeling that there is so much love here. There's so much love here. It's unfathomable what is here, the amount of love that is here. And the utter devastation of feeling there is no way I will ever be able to share all that is here. Utter devastation. A couple nights later, this final teaching that came from St. Francis, unbeknownst to me, was really this recognition that, that the unfolding of whatever is happening is all happening with this amazing orchestration of the force of life. and that all I can do is pay attention and respond. That's really all I got, is just to listen, to pay attention and respond. And so I shared these insights that came from this meditation retreat. And again, one of the folks on retreat had spent decades studying St. Francis, was a deep devotee of Francesco. And he said, well, Kimberly, because I know nothing, he's like, well, you know what you're describing? You're describing poverty, chastity, and obedience. And those are the three knots that the Franciscans wear on the rope around their habit, literally as knots. Literally as knots. Poverty, I've got nothing except presents to offer. Okay. Chastity, all that's here wanting to be known is the love of God. And obedience, all I can do is show up and listen to respond. So it was such a powerful gift, really, from the land from which a great Siddha lived. A great Siddha, a jewel fully polished and shining still brightly hundreds of years after he dropped his body. So hopefully that story came through. So we would love to now share a practice that is a little bit maverick in this setting, I think, but we're going to play a song in just a sec. Tom's going to help us. And this is from the words of Saint Teresa of Avila. And so what we're going to do is about a 4-minute song. We've got the words on the slide. It's super simple. I got an echo here. And then after we listen to the song, I'd like you just to feel what it's pointing to. Okay? And of course, Christ here, so Teresa of Avila was a great polished jewel in the net. Okay? And Christ consciousness, right? This illumined, the anointed illumination.
Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he sees, yours are the feet with which he walks, yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world, yours are the hands. Christ has no body now but yours, no hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes with which he sees, yours are the feet with which he walks, yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world, yours are
Namaste. The word dharma, I'm sure you're familiar with it somewhat, often refers to the teachings of the Buddha. But it also means phenomena. That is, each and every form, whether animate or inanimate, has its own place, its own function, and how this universe is being orchestrated moment to moment.
And Jesus said, don't hide your light under a bushel. Don't hide your light under a bushel. And as the jewel becomes fully revealed and self-illumined, the jewel becomes fully revealed and self-illumined, then this nexus now serves as a liberating tapestry. This is the consecration of the jewels of Indra's net, the consecration of not knowing.
Both not with a K and dropping the K.
Beautiful. So that's what we have. All right. Well, thank you all, everybody, for being here. Thank you for your attention, your open hearts, your precious questions. Provide.